What is up? It is MAXIMUS MMA bringing you my picks and predictions for UFC 329. Conor McGregor taking down Max Holloway in a rematch here almost 10 years later. One of the most hyped fights of the year. Super excited for this card. I mean, the return of the Mac. And yeah, I actually recorded this video yesterday, but I saw some new developments online. I just wanted to remake this video, make sure I got it right, because the predictions this week are going to be great. Let's get straight into it. Look, man. Conor McGregor, okay? Conor McGregor! Look, he's coming back, man, okay? Conor McGregor was summoned, not by Michael Chandler, but this time by Max Holloway, in a fight where the odds to me are a little nuts. I mean, when you just think about it, right? Like, Conor McGregor has been out doing nothing but getting in controversy, drinking, partying, another 1,000 chips.
Another 1,000 chips.
Right, hanging weights off of his dick, right? Like, we all saw it, okay? Like, it's disgusting. But the point is, like, he's doing anything but fighting. Anything but fighting, right? That's what Conor's doing. And now he's going to come back and take on one of the most active guys in the UFC who has had a lot of success. Obviously, recently got grappling masterclassed by Charles Oliveira. Really just was exposed in the clinch. And then once he got to the ground, Charles Oliveira is too good. Then, of course, he was KO'd by Ilia Topuria about a year and 9 months ago almost, probably by fight time. Dustin Poirier win, of course. I believe that was Poirier's last fight, too. So, point is, and he beat Justin Gaethje, right, via probably the greatest knockout of all time at UFC 300. So, you know, Max always had a lot of success in the UFC. He's been fighting at a high level. Conor McGregor, like, the idea that he's just going to be able to go around and party and party and party and do the things I mentioned before and come back and beat Max seem nuts, right? I mean, from a fight standpoint, Conor McGregor is going to have a reach advantage. On paper, he should have the power advantage. The thing that worries me for Conor, though, is time off, the leg break against Poirier. People forget how nasty that leg break was. And guys don't come back from that injury. Look at Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva was, like, my favorite fighter growing up. I was privileged enough to watch the UFC in the Anderson Silva glory days, you know, against Chris Lieben and all those guys he knocked out. Started with Chris Lieben, really, but you know, it's just one of those, he never came back the same. And then Chris Weidman had the exact same injury, and he never came back the same. So, again, now we're just not going to fight for 5 years. We're going to come back from that kind of injury. I'm not buying it, man. Look, I'm going to be rooting for Conor McGregor, but I do think that Max Holloway will win this fight. I just think that Conor's got about a round and a half to do something. And if he doesn't knock out Max in the first 2 rounds, I find it extremely hard to believe that he's going to have the cardio to go 5 rounds against a guy who literally has been fighting 5 rounds forever. I mean, forever. Like, Max Holloway is a 5-round fighter. So, give me Max Holloway to win, probably by KO in the 2nd or 3rd round after Conor McGregor starts to wear a little bit of damage to the body, to the leg. I expect Holloway to target both of those often and early. And, yeah, just give me Holloway to win by knockout, 2nd, 3rd round. Then we've got Paddy the Body taking on Benoit Saint Denis. Look, this is one of those fights where Benoit Saint Denis, I'm a fan, all right? And he's had a really good run in the UFC. I mean, I really became a fan after he KO'd Matt Frevola the way that he did, because that was just so nasty on the Prochazka Pereira 1 card. Dustin Poirier, of course, knocked him out after a good first round by BSD. And then Moicano got into dominant position off of catching a kick, I believe, and just beat him to a pulp. I mean, Benoit Saint Denis was beat up so bad. But after that, he's had some really good wins. Kyle Prepolek, meh, but Hoofy, that's aged great. Benny Dariush, who doesn't KO Benny Dariush, unfortunately. And then Dan Hooker, he just destroyed him on the ground. Now he's taking on Paddy the Baddy, who's coming off of a loss against Justin Gaethje, a war to kick off the Paramount card. And honestly, it hasn't aged too poorly because, right, we just saw what Gaethje is now the undisputed lightweight champion, and, you know, what he did to Poirier. So, before that, though, I was kind of skeptical about Paddy's wins. I mean, he barely beat Jared Gordon, arguably lost. He beat the ghost of Tony Ferguson, my GOAT, by the way. Tony would have beat Khabib, argue with the wall. And then we've got Bobby Green, which that performance was really impressive. The way that Paddy the Baddy subbed King Green in that scramble was absolutely amazing. It was very impressive. And then he beat Michael Chandler in a fight that I thought that was, like, crazy because a lot of people were like, Paddy killed Michael Chandler. Dude, he was literally losing the fight. or was, barely winning. I mean, that was a really hard fight for him. He ended up getting the KO, but again, everybody beats Chandler. And he lost to Gaethje. Look, I'm going to pick Paddy to Batty here because of that King Green submission. Because to me, I know that BSD is going to go forward. I know he's going to be aggressive. I'm going to trust in the Scouser chin of Pimblett to be able to take a hard punch and just survive early. And I think that in the scrambles, which there are going to be scrambles, Paddy Pimblett's a savant in those situations. I mean, the way that BSD puts his head, in guillotine positions and head and arm chokes, I just think that Paddy Pimblett can probably snatch something up. And on the feet, this fight's pretty even. I mean, BSD is very hittable. We saw it against Dustin Poirier, obviously an elite boxer, but I'm not saying that Paddy the Batty's Dustin Poirier live on the feet, but Paddy is going to bomb some overhand rights. And the way that BSD doesn't move his head, I could see him coming on to one of those. So give me Paddy to win. Official call is going to be submission, but I could easily see a KO too. Club and sub very live. But yeah, man, I really like Paddy in this fight, and I'm surprised to see him as an underdog. So definitely one of my favorite underdogs for the week. And then we've got Cory Sandhagen taking on Mario Bautista. Another fight where I'm going to go with the underdog. Look, man, Mario Bautista has looked really good in the UFC. I mean, he had the terrorist win against Jose Aldo. Like, let's be honest, we all wanted the bounty on Mario's head to be claimed after that. But look, it never did. Then he destroyed Patchy Mix, who turned out to be an absolute bum. I mean, he's losing in Rising now, so, like, a lot of that hype. But a big upset at the time for Mario Bautista, where everybody kind of just assumed he was going to lose, and plus wanted him to lose after what he did to Jose. And then he lost to Umar in a fight that he actually dropped him in, looked decent in that, but Umar is just a really elite grappler. And then he destroyed Vinicius Oliveira basically just by being an MMA fighter. Oliveira is one of my favorite fighters to watch, but he's very reckless and chaotic, unorthodox. A guy like Mario Bautista, who is just so clean and technical, is going to beat a guy like that. So it makes a lot of sense. Notice how we have Cory Sandhagen, kind of like a cult classic of the MMA community. And look, I might ruffle some feathers with this, but I think Cory Sandhagen's mildly overrated. I mean, he barely beat Marlon Vera. He beat Rob Font, who at that point had already slowed down. He lost to Umar in a fight where he just looked completely terrible. Like, he never was competitive for a moment in that fight, from what I can remember. And he waited a lot. And we'll get back to that. He beat Davis Figueiredo, again, the ghost of Figueiredo, and he did show some really nice, like, knee submissions. I know he trains with Ryan Hall, who is arguably one of the greatest submission experts in the world. So obviously Cory's very legit in the sub game, but then he got dominated by Merab again, where he just didn't look competitive. And that's the thing, right? It's like in his two losses, he seems content to kind of let the other guy go first. And I don't know. I don't like Cory Sandhagen playing catch-up here against Mario Bautista, who I think wants this really bad. It's a rematch. He wants his revenge. And Mario Bautista is going to go first. I really believe he will. I don't think that, Mario's going to be able to grapple him and take him down consistently. And if he does, I surely don't think he's going to hold Cory Sandhagen down. But I think that Mario Bautista, just by mixing it up and being first with the jab, I think he's very live to get an upset here. I can't trust Cory to throw more volume than Mario Bautista in this fight. And what, is Cory Sandhagen going to, KO him the way that he did on old Frankie Edgar via flying knee, and then Marlon Moraes, who at that point was getting KO'd by everybody? I don't know, dude. Like, give me Mario Bautista to win this fight. Likely by a decision. Honestly, I could see this fight being really boring, unfortunately. But just because both these guys are really technical. But I just like the willingness to go first to Bautista, so hopefully he doesn't make me look like an ass. And he's hesitant in the biggest fight of his career up until this point, in my opinion, against Sandhagen. I mean, you could say the Umar fight was bigger, but I think that the Umar fight was like a good situation for him because nobody expected him to win, and he got a lot of elite experience, didn't take a lot of damage. So now, he's been active since, right? It's going to be his third fight in 12 months, right? Like, that's good. So I think he's just going to learn from that fight. Give me Mario to win by decision. Then we got Brandon Raw Dog Royval taking on Elisha Kavanaugh. Look, this is one of those fights where Brandon Royval has been a mainstay at this top of the division for quite some time, but he's fallen on hard times, with a loss to Joshua Van and then KO'd by Manel Starboy Cop, who, again, in my opinion, is not even really a hot take. He is the most dangerous guy at this division, flyweight. So I don't really fault that loss too much. And obviously he lost to the current champion Joshua Van in one of the fights of the year. He might have actually won it. So a lot of people are sleeping on Royval here. But I think it's really just because Loner Kavanaugh, most Chinese man I've ever seen in my entire life, by the way. But anyways, you know, the way that he looked against Brandon Moreno was really impressive. And I think a lot of people are going to lean towards Kavanaugh here because he showed he could go 5 rounds against a Moreno who, in my opinion, is certainly past his best days. And I thought that Moreno already looked a step or two slower a fight or two before that. You know, so it's one of those wins where, like, yeah, it's a good win, but I don't know. He just lost to Charles Johnson. So seeing that and everybody picking Kavanaugh is kind of crazy. But at the same time, I do think that Kavanaugh will probably be a little bit too young, a little bit too fast, a little bit too clean. I do think that Royval, similar to Moreno, I think they're on similar timelines. I think they're kind of slowing down a little bit, and I think that, like, half-second slowness is going to be what makes Kavanaugh win this fight. I don't know if I'm going to pick KO. I really think that Royval probably isn't chinny. I mean, getting KO by Manel Kape doesn't mean you're chinny. So, give me Kavanaugh to win by decision. Probably a coast. He might hurt Royval times. This should be competitive, but I just think Kavanaugh will be a step ahead for at least 2 to 3 rounds. And then we've got one of the fights I'm really looking forward to on this card where we have Bobby Green taking on Terrance McKinney in a fight where Bobby Green has been on an absolute tear with 3 wins in a row. Obviously, Jeremy Stephens was a BKFC guy at that point, so I really like King Green showing the just the veteran savviness to submit a guy like that who clearly hadn't been practicing the grappling, probably, right, too often in recent years. And then before that, he had a big upset against Daniel Zellhuber, which was impressive, even though Zellhuber is really a fraud. He had a close fight against Lance Gibson. Terrance McKinney, on the other hand, is a cyclone, right? He's coming in there. He's a one-round fighter. He's kill or be killed. We'd love to watch him, but he's kind of a coin flip guy. Obviously got finished by Chris Duncan, but before that was on a decent little streak against low-level competition in the UFC. I don't know, man. So this is one of those where I also heard there's a little beef in this matchup because Bobby Green, Terrance McKinney was supposedly texting him like, hey, you know, man, my manager wants me to fight you, dude. I don't really want to, right? And he's like, okay, well, just do whatever, man. And then he's kept on bringing it up. And Bobby Green said, look, man, I feel like you're disrespecting me at this point. You're trying to make it sound like I'm easy pickings, and you just don't want to hurt me. Let's fight. Sign a damn contract. And I like that for King Green because one thing about interviews I've seen this week from Bobby Green, he does not want to lose to Terrance McKinney. And he literally said, like, look, man, Terrance, there's so many other guys in this division. Why do you want to steal my shine? Why do you want to try to build yourself off of my name? I thought we were homies. I like that for Bobby Green, especially because of the Jeremy Stephens fight. We just completely different matchups, but because we saw that Bobby Green at 39 years, a veteran, I mean, couldn't be any more of a veteran in the UFC. He's going to lean on his veteran savviness to get a win. And look, is Terrance McKinney going to be extremely dangerous for the first round? Yes. But I just think that once Bobby Green starts to take over, he's not going to give this back. I mean, I'm going to give Terrance like a 10% chance to get a come from behind random fluke KO. Please don't happen. But I really like Bobby Green to get this fight done. I think he's going to be smart. He needs to be defensively sound, which is hard for Bobby Green to do with the hands down style. But for that first, again, half of a round, first round. But if it gets out of there, I mean, can you just not see Bobby Green starting to jab McKinney's face off, ducking out of the way of overhand rights and straights, and just start to count him up, right? Kind of Max Holloway style, and just start to roll downhill. And I definitely think that Terrance McKinney will fold. I mean, we saw that against Chris Duncan. That fight was pure chaos, but I thought that McKinney almost kind of gave it to Duncan. He almost was like, all right, well, I couldn't get you out of there in my first flurry. You're too tough, too good. Take my neck. That's really how I saw that fight. So I'm going to pick King Green to get this fight done via KO. I'm going to say it goes to the second round. I could see a first round. Everybody's picking first round, but I'm going to go second round for Bobby Green. He's a little bit of an underdog. Another underdog I really like in this card, especially because of the build-up and the way that Terrance McKinney has been talking a little crazy, okay? I mean, he said, look, I'm not going to call him King. I'm calling him Bobby because he's going to get schmurted. And then drop the N-word, okay? So, look, I like that in this fight. I like the fact that Bobby Green's really going to want to win against his opponent rather than just getting a win straight up. Give me Bobby Green to win via veteran safetiness and building into the fight. Second round KO. Then we've got Robert Whittaker taking on Nikita Krylov in his light heavyweight debut. Look, this is an interesting move because Robert Whittaker was never really a big guy at middleweight, so maybe he just thinks that the light heavyweight division is kind of weak. Middleweight is super stacked. So I could see where he's like, okay, let me try my luck up here. But as far as like the physicality of the move and like what it does for him, I don't really like it. I mean, Krylov is really big here. He's going to have a big size advantage. And we just saw the way that bigger guys at middleweight give Whittaker a problem with the Chimaev face break and then the Rainier de Ritter via just clinch work and big knees up the middle. I am going to pick Robert Whittaker to win here, though, just because I think he's a different class of Krylov, who I picked to lose against Dominic Reyes when Krylov was a big favorite. And then I picked Guskov to beat him, too. And Guskov, honestly, to me, I thought he was really hyped up, but then when he fought Blachowicz, he really disappointed me. So it's like he's losing to guys that, aren't that great. And I like Dominic Reyes. Look, all respect to him. But that's not the Reyes that fought John. Good win, though, against Bukauskas. But, man, I don't know. I just think we're going to pick lighter man skill here, and I think that Robert Whittaker is going to show his championship pedigree against Krylov, a guy who's really never accomplished much in the sport. Right, let's be real. So I'm going to go with Whittaker to win. I kind of think it will be a decision. So I'm going to go Whittaker decision. But I could see a KO. But I really do like Robert to win this fight. I wouldn't necessarily bet on it, though. But I do think that he's going to be a better martial artist. And I think he'll be able to overcome the size disadvantage against a guy like Krylov. Then we've got squash match here. Look, Gable Stevenson's going to absolutely destroy Elisha Ellison. Elisha Ellison's only fight in the UFC was against Brandon Pericic, which you want to talk about a tough draw, because Brandon Pericic is one of the best prospects at heavyweight and looks extremely dangerous. If Gable Steveson was fighting Pericic for his debut, I'd probably pick Pericic. But he's not. He's fighting Elisha Ellison, a guy that Pericic destroyed. Gable Steveson is minus 3,000. It makes sense because he's really a lamb to the slaughter. Gable Steveson by KO via being the superior athlete in the first round. Not much else has to be said. And then we've got Cody Garbrandt taking on Adrian Yanez. Look, I'm a Cody Garbrandt fan, right? I actually ran into Cody Garbrandt in Chicago about 2 years ago on the street, just randomly. It's pretty funny, but, since... I don't know, man. Cody Garbrandt's just not who he used to be. I mean, we all remember the Dominic Cruz night, but that was ages ago now, and he lost to Long Zhao. Yes, he won, but he literally won around 9-8, I believe, because Long Zhao got 2 fouls in the round. And they ended up winning that fight. That was one of the weirdest fights. Pretty hilarious fight. Long Zhao, yelling, and then Cody Garbrandt runs across the cage and jumps at him and then just does nothing. It literally was so weird, but... Arguably and realistically, Cody Garbrandt's on a 3-fight losing streak. And now he's taking on Adrian Yanez, who has had almost no success in the last 5 years. More like the last 5 fights, of Adrian Yanez. But Adrian Yanez used to be a really hyped up prospect, boxer. And Rob Font really shut that down when he KO'd him pretty easily 3 years ago in a pretty big upset. So I remember being shocked about that at the time. But Rob Font was still pretty good at that point. I don't know, man. These odds to me are crazy, but it does kind of make sense because they want to bait people to pick Garbrandt, where nobody thinking logically and actually watching Garbrandt's fights could possibly pick him to win against a guy like Yanez, who is actually going to throw punches. Cody Garbrandt might throw less than 10 strikes around. That's why I can't pick Cody. He's so hesitant now. He has no go mode, and he has the potential to get KO'd at any point. So give me Adrian Yanez to win. Dude, I keep on picking decisions. Obviously, some of these are going to end in finishes, but I don't know, man. I could just see a Cody Garbrandt run around, not engaged performance. So I'm going to pick Yanez to win by decision. And then we've got Luke Riley taking on Kai Kamaka III. Look, Luke Riley's a pretty good prospect coming out of the same gym, I believe, as Paddy Pimblett. And he looked decent against Michael Aswell. Obviously had the big comeback KO against Bogdan Grad, which was a good, gritty win. Michael Aswell, though, did just get beaten by Gaston Bolaños when he was a big favorite. So I guess it didn't age too well. But the thing I like about Riley, and hear me out here, is that in fighting, right, head size is really important when it comes to getting KO'd and your ability to take a punch. Luke Riley's head is massive for the featherweight division. Lightweight division. I think this fight's a lightweight. I actually don't even know. Call me a casual, but point is, though, he's bigger than these guys. He looked way bigger than Michael Aswell, and he's also going to have a size advantage against Kai Kamaka, who's 5'7", compared to Luke Riley's 5'9". And Kai Kamaka had a run in the UFC, didn't do too great, and then he was out of the UFC on the regional scene, got some wins, came back, and then he beat Dakota Hope via split decision. Dude, I'm going to pick the blue chip prospect in Luke Riley simply because I think that he's going to have a lot more thud on the feet, and he is pretty technically sound. He actually does keep his hands up pretty well, unlike his stablemate Paddy. So, yeah, give me Luke Riley to win this fight. I think he's going to get a KO. A lot of people are picking decision, but I think that Luke Riley will get a KO here because against Michael Aswell, he really started to build into that fight. He was kind of getting out jabbed for the first round, but then you just saw Luke Riley, just a thud and the ability to take punches and physicality really start to take over. I think we could see the same thing here, except I think that Luke Riley will get off to a faster start this time, and I think that he can hurt Kamaka. KO by Luke Riley in the second or third round. And then we've got women's fight, actually a decent women's fight as far as women's are concerned. Not really out of entertainment though, because look, to me, Tracy Cortez is so boring. Like, all she does is wrestle. She has no striking. She has no submission game. She has no ground and pound. She's literally just a control position grappler. And, you know, she had a little bit of hype before she lost to Rose Namajunas, but then Rose Namajunas basically showed me, look, this girl just doesn't have it. Her eyelash flew off. We all saw it. That shit was so embarrassing. But, yeah, man. Then she got destroyed by Erin Blanchfield, who is realistically is one of the best girls in this division. In my opinion, the top 3. She actually probably is ranked top 3. But Kong Wang on the other side is actually a pretty good striker and had some KOs. And then she got submitted by Gabriela Fernandez, which killed a lot of the hype. And honestly, it kind of has made her go under the radar a little bit, I think. You know, getting some wins over some low-level competition. I just like the violence of Kong Wang in this fight. We are in Vegas as well, so they usually do score it based more on damage. And yeah, man, like, I just don't trust Cortez to actually do damage. So give me Kong Wang to win, probably by decision. And then we're going to have Damian Pinas against Cesar Almeida. Look, man, this is a great fight too. I mean, what a debut for Pinas here against Cesar Almeida. Cesar Almeida is no joke, man. He's a high-level kickboxer. I believe he actually even beat Alex Pereira in kickboxing. KO'd Dylan Budka's a bum, and then he turned Roman Kopylov into a grappler, lost via split decision, but he definitely did lose that fight, unfortunately, because I did pick Almeida 2 years ago in that fight. And then he got some wins against low-level competition with Porteria and then Al Hassan, and then he just lost to Cesare Olajaychuk about 6 months ago, sorry. Taking on Pinas, who is making his UFC second debut, I guess, because he got a KO on the Contender Series, which is nasty, and then he KO'd Wes Schultz, but Wes Schultz was a victim. He was scared. So it's one of those fights where, like, good for Damian, but come on, man. And, yeah, man, Cesar Almeida's not going to be scared. This fight's very interesting because if this turns into straight kickboxing, Cesar Almeida is extremely live, and you can see the bookmakers are giving him some respect here, despite Damian Pinas being a pretty big prospect. I'm going to pick Damian here only because of the physicality. I like the reach advantage. So I think he can hang with Almeida on the feet. But if he can't, I think he does have a path to the grappling. We saw Kopylov do it. Almeida does have some decent takedown defense. But I just think that here I'm going to pick Damian because he's the younger man. And I like the reach advantage for him. Now, whether or not he can use that reach advantage effectively remains to be seen. But I definitely think it is something of note, especially when Almeida's one path to victory is probably kickboxing. So give me Damian to win by KO, I guess, because honestly, this fight's going to be pretty volatile. I think somebody's getting knocked out. Then we've got a quick breakdown here for Free Basharat against John Garza. Look, I only know 2 things about this fight, really. Ewing would have beat Basharat, that's what I believe, but Basharat gets a low-level guy, no disrespect to John Garza, but a guy who's never done anything in the UFC, or very young in his career when he's only 23, almost 24. But look at this, okay? Free Basharat's been in the UFC for a long time. He's undefeated in his career, 15-0, right? Decision. He's become a decision merchant against the UFC-level guys. But we don't know if John Garza's UFC level yet. It remains to be seen. And what was Basharat doing to non-UFC guys? Submission, sub in the UFC. Let's go to John Garza here. Hear me out. Amateur career is relevant here because it wasn't that long ago for him. Subbed. Right? I don't know, man. I just think this is one of those fights for Basharat, it's a setup because, like, all right, if you get a submission here or a finish, yeah, we can cheer for you. If he goes to a boring decision against a guy who's making his UFC debut when you're 15-0 and what 6-0 in the UFC, it's not a good look, man. I'm gonna pick Basharat to win by submission. I think that's actually a really good call. I'm surprised more people aren't picking it because John Garza looks like he's been submitted before, and Basharat needs a finish. So give me Basharat to win by sub. Later rounds. Then we've got Ryan Gandra against Zach Reese. Look, Zach Reese is a bum in my opinion. He's just slow. He's big, but he's slow. And yeah, I mean, the way that he likes to play guard makes me really scared for him in this matchup. Because against Bakoev, he was like, all right, yeah, man, like, I'm literally at middleweight, and, you know, let me just play guard against a guy who's weighing like 210, 215 pounds and get my face pounded in. I don't like that for Zach Reese. He seems too content to go and pull guard sometimes. Yeah, he beat Jackson McVeigh, which is a decent win, I guess, but then he lost to Michel Pereira. Gandra, on the other hand, he does kind of throw recklessly. He throws a lot like this, so could Zach Reese catch him with something? Sure. But I don't know. I don't see Zach Reese as a power puncher, and I like the willingness to bomb from Ryan Gandra, because I really think that's how you beat Zach Reese. I think you beat Zach Reese by being aggressive and ideally getting him to the ground and letting him play guard, because he feels comfortable there, man. Like, it's just who he is, and you're not going to change at 32. And finally to stop playing guard. It's not going to work against Gandra, I don't think. Now, do I think that Gandra is really good? Probably not. I mean, he's not proven anything at all. And, like, I mean, he beat the human punching bag of Jose Medina, who, you know, some uncle at the cookout could probably beat. I mean, literally, Jose Medina is an uncle at the cookout, right? So, I got to pick the guy that's getting a lot of finishes against lower-level comp, against a guy like Zach Reese, who I really don't think is that good, and is susceptible to being finished. So give me Ryan Gandra to get a KO in the first 2 rounds. Then to open up the card, we got Cody Durden taking on Alessandro Costa. Look, I like Cody Durden, but once he lost to Bruno Silva, which I guess was almost 2 years ago now, in that kind of comeback win for Bruno Silva, Cody Durden's been on a big slide, man. I mean, losses against decent competition, but yes, he did just beat Fielho, but I've always thought Fielho was kind of a fraud, but still a really good win for Cody. And yeah, man, he just doesn't have the danger anymore. I mean, yeah, he's a good grappler, but he fades, and he's not dangerous at all. Costa is at least dangerous in the UFC, and he does have a lot of experience in the UFC. So I'm going to take him to not lose something dumb, because I feel like the only way that Cody Durden can beat you at this point is if you're bankrupt in grappling or if you do something stupid. It's really the only 2 ways. And Costa's live on the feet to get a KO here. I'm going to pick him to win by KO, probably in the first round. And again, I like the fact that he's been in the UFC a long time, so he shouldn't make some amateur mistake. But that's going to do it for the picks for UFC 329, McGregor versus Holloway 2. Super excited for the card. I have not released the lock of the week yet. I am actually going to make a separate video for that tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. And there I'll be, you know, kind of mentioning some other favorite picks. You might be able to assume who they are by watching this video. But as always, it was MAXIMUS MMA. Really appreciate everybody watching this video. If you didn't check out my last video about the top 5 UFC fights that have to happen before the end of 2026, go check that out. That video is a banger. And yeah, lock of the week coming tomorrow. And then I will be giving my full card reaction upon its conclusion. So see you in the next one.